What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the Borderlands movie and the scores that it is getting coming to us from Rotten Tomatoes. Now, look, when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes, I'm honestly not a big fan. I don't really understand how they do it with, I think it's if you don't like the movie and if you give it below a certain actual score, it just kind of translates to a 0 and then a 100. I don't know 100% how it works. I know that it doesn't represent the average of the scores, and that's important because what we're here to talk about is that the Borderlands movie has a 8%, which is, I imagine, one of the worst movie scores of all time. I think it started with a 0, it went up to a 4, and then now it's at an 8. And I think it's based off of 35 or so critics. So, maybe it gets another 30 or so critics, and, maybe it settles in like the low 20s, like can it get itself up to that? But again, now if you actually go through the top critics, like if you scroll through what each person is saying, the movie is getting between 1 out of 5, which is a 20. You know what I mean? A 1 out of 5. I saw a 2 out of 5. I saw a couple 3. I actually saw one that's a 3.5 out of, which is a 7, right? That's a 7 out of 10 score. So again, I don't really understand it because like if you give it a 4 out of 10, somehow that translates to a 0 or an 8%. However, I do want to separate these things, right? Number one, I just think the Rotten Tomatoes score thing is kind of stupid. Number two, I do believe that this movie is not going to be good. I just, from the trailers, from everything that we've seen of it, I have never thought that high, on this movie. I think what they've already done with some of the cast, like a Lilith with Cate Blanchett and Kevin Hart and all that stuff, I'm not a big, I like Kevin Hart. He does play himself every time. And in this case, he's playing himself when he's really not supposed to. Jack Black, I'm a big Jack Black guy as well. School of Rock, of course. Him as Claptrap, I don't like whatsoever. And in fact, I was willing to give it a try, but the more that I hear of him, whether it's in promotional stuff, whether it's in the trailers, I am not a fan of that, his voice as Claptrap, or the writing whatsoever. I did see a lot of the reviews talking about that the writing is absolutely terrible. The characters are absolutely terrible. Like, that's some of the, I want to say highlights, but whatever, I guess the opposite of that is. So yeah, I mean, was I ever thinking super highly on this movie? No. I think, like, Borderlands put to a movie is more like maybe Guardians of the Galaxy like, type stuff, but what the movie is like doesn't seem like it's, I mean, maybe it's going to be almost a ripoff Guardians of the Galaxy, right? I think Eli Roth being the director, I don't think that's a good idea. So I don't know. I just kind of want to, say that in this video that, look, well, a couple of things. I've never been high on it. Does an 8% literally mean that the movie is a 8 out of 100 or like a 1 out of 10, actually lower than a 1 out of 10? Does it actually mean that? Not necessarily. If people go out and see it and they like it, that's great, right? I always, whenever I make videos like this, you'll have people that say, hey, I'm excited to see it. Good. And I don't say that as like a demeaning type thing. Good. Like, I'm glad that you want to see it. You spend your money and you watch the movies that you want to watch. I do kind of want to watch it. I kind of want to watch it, but movie theaters are so expensive, especially like as you have a family and as more and more tickets, and it honestly, for me, it's not worth it. It's not worth spending 40, 50, 60 bucks, take the whole crew, get the food. If you get the food and drinks, you're getting closer to 100 bucks. Truly, it's not worth it for me personally. If it goes to digital, which it might do maybe 2-3 weeks after the movie comes out, would I watch this movie for free? I absolutely think I would. But to spend the money that it would take for me to see it at my local theater, I'm not going to do that. I was never that high on it. I do like Borderlands. I just don't think this is going to be a great adaptation. I want to say, when a review is so bad, right? Like, sometimes you can take it seriously. I don't base my life off reviews. I don't decide whether to see or not see a movie or to buy or not buy a game based off reviews, right? I've said that. And that is true here. It's getting terrible scores, but I am not seeing the movie because of that. I'm not seeing the movie because I never was, and then now I'm just seeing the reviews. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully people stuck around to hear that part of it. But at the same time, when a movie gets such low scores, is there a shred of truth? Now, some of my favorite films, or there's a couple of my favorite films, I should say, that do actually have low Rotten Tomatoes scores, like 30s or 40s. Yet again, there's a difference between 30s and 40s and then 8. But at the same time, again, Rotten Tomatoes, I don't understand it. How does the movie get a 6 out of 10 and then somehow it translates to a 0 or a 4 or an 8 out of 100? I don't know how that actually makes sense. So, and there are critics that are giving it. Like, the average score seems to be around a 3 to 5 out of 10. And like a 5 to some might be average, a 5 to some might be bad. A 3 out of 10 is definitely a bad movie, right? But an 8% out of 100 is like 1 out of 10. So it'd be like half a star out of 5, right? And it's like, I don't see anybody giving it that score, and yet that's what the average on Rotten Tomatoes is showing up as. So again, I don't really get it. It's not a good look. It's not surprising. You can kind of say all these things pretty easily, right? It's not surprising it's getting bad scores. I also just don't think movie critics, right? I don't think these kind of movies are up their alley no matter what. Even if you made a good Borderlands movie, I don't think that would be up their alley either. I really don't. Maybe like a BioShock movie, even though it's actually going to be. Well, I think it might be, but it's like a Netflix thing, right? Maybe that these journalists, I want to say game journalists, but they're movie journalists or movie critics, whatever you want to call them. Maybe they would appreciate that. But a lot of these games, an Uncharted, even a good Uncharted movie, which you can debate whether we got that or not, but a good Uncharted movie, I don't know if they'd be into that anyway, right? So I feel like you can throw all these things out. I don't think this movie was ever gonna get good scores. You can debate amongst yourselves if it getting a good or bad score even matters to you. That's totally respectable as well. It's just from what I've seen and what I've heard and all that stuff. And actually, I do follow a couple people, and a friend of my channel is kind of into like the movie leaking kind of scene. He gets a lot of insight from the early previews, I should say, right? Like when people kind of just go to see the movie and the test screenings, right? He gets a lot of that stuff, and he's tweeted out before that the Borderlands test screenings were abysmal. So this is not like these are journalists, but when it was shown to just a random like polling of people, right? And they're supposed to like give their opinions on it after. This movie always did bad. So, and that was before. That was before even this. So yeah, I feel like the writing was always on the wall that this was going to be a bad movie. We'll see. I mean, again, if you want to enjoy it or you do enjoy it at the end of the day, that's great. That's great. I hope to see it. Maybe we'll talk about it when I do. I'm just not going to pay money to see a movie like this. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.